Now at 9, Mining Days in Pittsburgh wraps up. We'll take you there and show you all the fun. Plus, President Biden wraps up his last day in France, where he has pushed for continued support of Ukraine and Israel. And
people with a passion for history have the opportunity to dig a little deeper with trained professionals. I'm Samantha Walker, and I'll have that story coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Have you ever wanted to dig a little deeper into local history? This is KOAM News at 9. I'm Anthony Saviello. Well, an annual archaeological dig hosted by the Kansas Anthropological Association and the State Historical Society is helping people do just that. KOAM Samantha Walker has more.
When searching for pieces of history, many people turn to places such as museums. But sometimes you have to dig for it. And that's exactly what people are doing at the Kansas Archaeology Training Program.
It's a program that kind of travels around the state. It's an annual event, and it's something where people that are interested in the prehistoric past or the historic past can get out and be active in kind of helping investigate archaeological sites.
Attendees start the process by attending an orientation and an archaeology class in the morning before heading out to the dig site. Organizers say experience isn't needed, just a passion for learning.
They can come and never have handled a trowel, never have excavated on an archaeological site, never have picked up an artifact.
Brian Hagman is participating in the dig with his son and father-in-law. For him, the dig is an opportunity to engage in a passion while also learning more about the area where he grew up.
I've always been interested in it, but again, to be able to kind of dig and look into the past of where my family had lived for hundreds of years, I thought it'd be pretty neat and pretty cool to come and see what was really under the earth down here.
Volunteers work with trained professionals at one of 2 different dig sites, a historic homestead and a field where there are believed to be prehistoric artifacts. Todd Bevitt is the project archaeologist and primary investigator at the sites. He says he became involved in archaeology through this same program and is grateful for this year's participants.
It really couldn't be carried out if it wasn't for the volunteer efforts, and a lot of times those volunteers that would be interested in this kind of stuff would not have an opportunity to participate and help out in an excavation if they weren't available and had figured out how to get engaged with the KATP.
And for participants, they say they are just grateful for the hands-on opportunity to learn more about those that came before them.
You kind of connect with a group and people from long ago by discovering and inserting yourself into their culture, into their artifacts, and even putting yourself in their shoes.
Reporting in Crawford County, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
the field school dig will run until June 16th, and participants are still welcome to join. You can learn more about how to join on our website, koamnewsnow.com. A new activity is being held towards the end of Mining Days, and that is a pickleball tournament. 21 teams of all ages are participating in the first ever tournament in a round-robin format. Medals are awarded to the top 3 teams, and all proceeds go to the Frontenac Rotary. Also happening at Mining Days, the Municipal Frontenac Swimming Pool wrapped up festivities with a free swim, allowing everyone to beat the heat without beating their bank account. The free swim is the traditional last event to cap off Mining Days.
For me, it just kind of feels like another normal day at work, but it's just, I think it's a good way for people to end their weekend, come go for a swim, cool off after a hot day out here.
The free swim was moved from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. due to low temperatures today. Meteorologist Lindsay Gaffney joins us with a first look at weather.
Well, those low temperatures are due to the front that we had moved through last night, causing us to have a few severe thunderstorm warnings. We only got up to the upper to mid 70s across the region. Now starting to drop down to the lower 70s as we get a little bit later into the evening. And we've got a light wind out of the northeast. So temperatures across the region, 70 in Lamar, 71 in Pittsburgh, a little bit warmer out in Independence, Sedan, 75, 74. So not too warm of a day, and that's going to continue tomorrow as well. But after that, we will warm back up, getting back into those summer temperatures, 80s and 90s. We do have a flood warning in effect for a lot of our counties in Missouri. We've got Barton County, Bourbon County, Vernon County as well until Monday morning at 7 a.m. Now, That river, Neosho River, we got a couple warnings on those as well. Those last until Wednesday morning. So we got a lot of rainfall over the last several days due to all the rain now has shifted south. Arkansas is getting hit. It's pretty slow moving, but we're going to stay dry for a while. Now I'll have more details for you in just a bit.
All right, Lindsay, thanks. Specialized training has already begun for Chicago police to handle the approaching 2024 Democratic National Convention. Training includes de-escalation, possible riots and vandalism, and mass arrests. The training will be reviewed for changes by supervisors who decide what works and what doesn't. President Joe Biden will be renominated at the convention to run again for president. Chicago could see more than 50 organizations planning protests. Permits near the convention's United Center site have been denied. The convention runs from August 19th through August 22nd. An apparent gaffe by President Biden capping off a state visit this weekend to France. This as the White House vows to continue its support for Ukraine, even as some in Washington push to pull back on U.S. aid. Fox News correspondent Peter Ducey is traveling with the president and has the latest.
Maybe jet lag, maybe not. As President Biden was leaving this trip, which included a meeting with the president of Ukraine, about $225 million US for Ukraine, he got Ukraine mixed up with Iraq.
I think there's a new rise and a sense of some within the country wanting to let that slip. The idea that we become semi-isolationists now, which some are talking about. I mean, the idea we had to wait all those months just to get the money for Iraq because we were waiting. I mean, it's not who we are.
Adding to the weight of that mistake, the president's national security advisor is defending the new U.S. policy of letting Ukrainians use U.S. weapons to shoot at Russia inside Russia.
From the president's perspective, this was common sense, and it simply didn't make sense not to allow the Ukrainians to fire across that border to hit Russian guns and emplacements that were firing at the Ukrainians.
The cemetery President Biden visited today is the one Trump skipped as president. The Atlantic magazine at the time claimed he also called the war dead there suckers and losers. Trump denies this, but it's a story Biden tells all the time, except today.
You've criticized President Trump for not coming here on his trip. What message are you hoping to send to voters by being here right now?
Any other questions?
President Biden has to be back here in Western Europe midweek, so it's unclear why he and the First Lady flew back to Delaware today. In Paris, Peter Ducey, Fox News.
Coming up, the U.S. is easing up on Cuban economic restrictions, which could mean more business for U.S. banks. Friday, a federal judge ruled the antitrust lawsuit by the Biden administration against Google will be decided by a judge, not a jury. That is, if the lawsuit isn't dismissed altogether. That's because Google wrote a $2.3 million check paying the full amount of monetary damages being sought in the lawsuit. The Department of Justice and multiple states allege Google bullied publishers and advertisers into using the company's proprietary ad technology products. A hearing is set for June 21st. If the case is not dismissed, a bench trial is set for September. Getting hot under the collar may not just be from heat this summer. Your energy bills may be on the rise. Two organizations, the National Energy Assistance Directors Association and the Center for Energy Poverty and Climate, say summer energy bills may rise more than 8% over last year. The organizations say consumers will pay an average of $719 more on energy from June through September, about $180 a month. U.S. banks could find new business in Cuba as the Biden administration eases economic restrictions there. Whether they take advantage of it or not will depend on their appetite for risk. Patrick Oppman reports from Cuba.
This small store in Old Havana called Dador, or Giver, produces its own clothing line and is a must-visit on just about every Cuba insider's list. As with many other privately owned businesses on this island, for visitors to Dador, it's cash only. U.S. economic sanctions mean communist-run Cuba is off limits to the U.S. financial system, which for Cuban entrepreneurs usually means most banks, even non-U.S. banks, don't want their money. But changes announced by the Biden administration in late May are giving Cuba's scrappy business pioneers cautious hope.
A lot of the Cuban businesses are very much dependent on foreigners coming to Cuba. So having access to credit cards and being able to do those transactions will be very positive. And just like anywhere in the world now, people don't really travel with cash anymore.
While the U.S. economic embargo remains very much in place, the Biden administration is allowing Cuban entrepreneurs to open bank accounts in the U.S. and access online banking. As the island transitions, however slowly, from a centralized Soviet-style bureaucracy to an economy that permits greater entrepreneurial freedoms, there are more opportunities available.
Food, beverages, even cars. Cuba imported from the United States last year $300 million in goods, so something is happening. It's better to be first right now.
Still, it's not clear how many U.S. banks, if any, will take advantage of the change in policy which the Biden administration previewed in 2023. So far, U.S. government officials tell me they're not aware of any U.S. banks willing to do business with Cuban entrepreneurs. Part of the problem could be something called overcompliance. Even when it's legal, U.S. financial institutions will have nothing to do with Cuba. The risks simply outweigh any potential rewards. For entrepreneurs like those at Dador, the new relaxed restrictions could make it easier for them to buy materials from the U.S., even sell their clothes to customers abroad.
I mean, that's part of the Cuban resilience. That's who we are. I think that's actually part of our identity now. Always thinking outside the box, because we've always had so many challenges and so many limitations.
Cubans deal with endless restrictions placed on them from outside and within. However big or small the opportunity they are given, though, Cuba's entrepreneurs will make the most of it.
Lindsay is next with a complete look at the forecast, and later we'll take a look at the weekend's top 5 box office hits.
Well, we've had severe weather this weekend, but now I think we're coming out of the severe weather season. It may have been our last one. We did get a lot of rainfall over the last couple of days. Taking a look outside downtown Joplin from the Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex. Skies are clear and it looks really gorgeous out there. Temperatures are in the lower 70s right now. We only got up to about 79 for our high today, so we're a little bit below average. We can thank that front that passed last night, and that's what gave us these cooler temperatures today and tomorrow. Now we've had up to about 10 inches of rain if you are just outside of our area, but Barton County, Vernon County got nearly 8 to 10 inches of rain. If you're in anywhere red, pink, orange, that's closer to 5 to 7 inches of rain. And then more towards Pittsburgh, Joplin, Monette, Chanute, that'll green to yellow. About 1 inch to 3 inches of rain. So more northern counties and northeastern counties got the most amount of rainfall. So we are having some flood conditions in those areas. We've got a flood warning in effect until 7 a.m. for all of those counties that just received up to about 10 inches of rainfall. Not to mention the Neosho River is flooding as well, and they have a flood warning in effect until Wednesday early morning. Outside of that, we're going to stay pretty dry. We've got some rain that moved out of our area this morning, now shifted down to Arkansas and Tennessee as well, but we're going to stay dry for the next week at least, which may have some issues on our drought tracker. Right now, we're clear. We've had a lot of rainfall this severe weather season, so everybody is completely out of a drought. But as we move into the summer months, temperatures start to warm up to the 90s, even hundreds, and we're not getting a lot of rainfall. We're going to keep an eye on drought conditions across the area. But that's not going to happen this week, but temperatures are going to start to warm up. Currently, tonight we're getting down to the low 60s. It's going to be sunny though, really gorgeous, but we do have a ridge forming over the area all week long. So that ridge brings sinking air, calmer, dry air in our area. We're not going to see much in the way of rainfall, not until Friday. That's going to be our next chance of some rain showers moving into the area. Until then, we've got a nice long ridge over the area and sunny skies all week long, including tomorrow. We've got a nice light wind out of the northeast still. Temperatures are only getting up to the upper 70s, maybe hitting 80 as well. But we're not going to really warm up until middle of the week. Wednesday, Thursday, getting back up into the mid to upper 80s. And then by the weekend, back into the 90s. Temperatures do warm up for our lows into the 70s and our highs all the way into the 90s starting next weekend, and that's going to continue. Like I said, we've got a chance of rain next Friday night and then again on Wednesday.
Feels like yesterday I was freezing and now I'm,
Yeah, time has flown, hasn't it? All the severe weather has just kind of kept us moving. I think.
And now we're just going to sweat all summer.
All summer long. We've got another severe weather season in the fall. Not as strong as spring season, but I'll be looking forward to that in just a couple of weeks probably.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Lindsay. Coming up, ceasefire negotiations in the Middle East are on a rocky road.
Israel's successful rescue of 4 hostages, intensifying pressure on the country to end the war. I'm Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. I've got the details coming up.
Will Smith returned to theaters this weekend in a familiar role. Did it give the box office the jolt it needed? David Daniel has the early estimates for the top 5 films.
She spoke. She called my name.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes approached the 150 million mark in domestic box office, taking 5th place with $5.4 million. The Watchers debuted in 4th place, bringing in an audience worth $7 million. $8 million put If in 3rd place. It's at $93 million domestic.
Or we can do this.
The Garfield movie slipped to 2nd, but $10 million pushed the animated adventure close to $70 million domestic.
Now I'll take the 3 in the front, you take the 6 in the back. Oh, no, you not.
Bad Boys Ride or Die gave the box office new life. The 4th film in the Will Smith, Martin Lawrence action franchise exceeded expectations in its debut, topping the chart with $56 million. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Howard University cuts ties with Sean Diddy Combs after a 2016 video was released that shows the rapper attacking R&B singer Cassie. The university rescinded an honorary degree that was given to him. They also discontinued a scholarship program that was in his name. The university releasing a statement saying that Diddy's actions show he is no longer worthy to have these honors. The Board of Trustees cut financial ties to Combs, including giving back a $1 million contribution, dissolving a pledge agreement with the Sean Combs Foundation, and ending the scholarship program. Up next, a story of love that happened unexpectedly. Linz McLeod and Z.K. Abraham matched on a dating app while Linz was visiting New York for a writers' conference in 2019. After their first date, Z took a leap of faith and traveled 4.5 hours to see Linz once more before Linz flew home to Scotland. Living on 2 different continents, they then had to make a decision about their future.
We met in the summer of 2019 in New York City. We actually matched on a dating app, and
actually, I think you matched me before I got off the plane.
Yes,
So,
and
yeah.
I didn't realize at the time that we matched that Linz lived in Scotland.
I had kind of decided to stop dating right before I went on this trip.
I had a profile that said, "Write me a poem," period, because I thought that was funny.
It wasn't until later that night that I was out with my conference friends and we'd had a few drinks that I thought, yeah, I can write a poem. I can write a poem that will blow your socks off.
I'm so sorry.
This is torture. Yeah.
I've been awake for 23 hours, which seems both healthy and fine.
I will, smiling, ignore your medical advice. Clearly, I liked your profile, just as you swiped mine.
I'm only in town for 10 days. Fancy going for a pint? I think I immediately asked, like, oh yeah, I'd love to hang out.
You did, it was straight away.
Linz asked me the morning after our date to see her in Denver before she went back to Scotland. I was like, oh, it's actually farther than I thought.
So much further, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was absolutely worth it and no big deal. Yeah. At the end, we were obviously going to part again and kind of wanted to figure out, okay, like, where do we go from here? You're moving back to Scotland.
And I had an email from Zabib saying, I don't want it to end. It was something that I was thinking about since we dropped you off at the airport.
And it all evolved naturally from there, getting to know each other like long distance. I decided I want to do an MFA, and I could do it in Edinburgh. And I've been here ever since.
We got engaged in January of 2022.
30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Coming up, the trial of Hunter Biden enters its second week. We'll have a preview of what to expect. The Israel military pounding central Gaza again today. Its force is not letting up one day after the successful rescue of 4 hostages. It's still unclear if the latest operation will help or hurt ongoing negotiations to end the war. Fox News correspondent Trey Yingst has the latest from Israel.
Israeli tanks moving through northern Gaza on Sunday. The assault continuing one day after a daring hostage rescue operation that brought 4 Israeli captives back safely. The New York Times reporting a team of American hostage recovery officials assisted with intel and logistical support, though the White House says it did not lend any official assistance with the operation. Hostages' loved ones relieved to have them home again after 8 months, but mindful that many other families are still waiting.
We have to remember that we have another 120 hostages more that we have to bring back home.
The Hamas-run Palestinian Health Ministry reports more than 200 Palestinians were killed during the Israeli operation, including dozens of children. One Israeli officer was also killed during the fight. Israel says Hamas is putting militants and hostages in densely populated areas, but the desperate situation for Gazans is becoming increasingly impossible to ignore.
There is no safe place here in Gaza. They may be bombed in any moment.
Despite months of negotiations, little progress has been made on a potential ceasefire. The U.S. insists Hamas is the one holding up a deal.
This whole tragedy could be over. All the hostages could be home. There could be a ceasefire if Hamas would just step up and say yes to the deal that the Israelis have accepted.
In a blow to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Israeli War Cabinet member Benny Gantz announced his resignation on Sunday. In Tel Aviv, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with 4 hostages who were rescued by the Israeli military. The captives had been held since the Hamas-led attack on Israel 8 months ago. It was the largest recovery operation since the war began. The captives had been held in 2 locations inside a Palestinian refugee camp located in the middle of the Gaza Strip. Gazan authorities say the rescue operation left more than 100 people dead and 400 others injured. The military says the 4 were in good condition. Testimony continues this week in Wilmington, Delaware, in the federal gun trial against President Biden's son, Hunter. It's possible that Hunter could take the stand, but that remains to be seen and comes with its own share of risks for the defense. Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera has more.
On one hand, Hunter Biden can drum up sympathy from jurors by sharing what he was going through in October 2018. He can argue he had a period of sobriety after a stint in rehab and therefore was being truthful when he filled out a federal form to get a gun. Prosecutors accuse him of lying on that form about his drug use. But if he does take the stand, he also opens himself up to cross-examination, which could be risky. The trial has featured highly personal and at times emotional testimony. Witnesses included his exes, like his sister-in-law Hallie Biden, with whom he was in a relationship after Beau's death. Prosecutors showed surveillance video of Hallie tossing out Hunter's gun in a trash can outside a Wilmington supermarket. Naomi, Hunter's eldest daughter, also testified, saying on Friday her father seemed great when she saw him in late summer 2018. The defense called her up to strengthen their argument that Hunter might not have been using drugs when he bought and owned the gun for 11 days. Special counsel David Weiss's team, though, presented a series of text messages between Naomi and Hunter in which he apologizes for his erratic behavior at the time. He told his daughter, quote, "I'm sorry, I've been so unreachable, it's not fair to you," unquote. The president says he won't pardon his son if he's convicted. Here's Michigan Governor and Biden campaign co-chair Gretchen Whitmer weighing in.
When the president was asked about this, he'll have confidence in the judicial system. He's not going to undermine it. I think, we'll see how it plays out.
First Lady Jill Biden will likely be back in court to show support for her stepson. She and the president return to Wilmington, Delaware tonight. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
Still ahead, the story of a woman who was able to escape her kidnapper, and it's caught on tape.
We've had a really active severe weather season, but it looks like we're almost out of that season, now into the summer season. Taking a look outside at downtown Joplin from the Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex. It's looking really great tonight. A little bit cooler after the storms that we had last night, but skies are clear. We've got a nice little sunset going on out there. Now, we did only get up to the upper 70s today, and that's a little bit cooler than what we've been on average in the mid 80s, but we only got up to about 79 in the Joplin region, and surrounding counties maybe about the same, a little bit lower, as we had those storms that passed by yesterday, last night, and into early this morning. We weren't going to get much warmer than that. We've also had a lot of rainfall as well, up to about 10 inches. If you are in the Vernon County or Barton County area, we have up to 10 inches, so closer to 8 to 10. And then Pittsburgh, Chanute, Joplin, Monette, so along the line of yellow and green, that was about 5 to 7 inches of rain, a little bit less, 4 to 7. And then south of Joplin, so south of our southern counties, about less than an inch to 2 to 3 inches. So we've gotten a lot of rainfall, causing us to have some flood issues, especially in the area that received up to 10 inches of rain. And that remains in effect until Monday at 7 a.m. Not to mention, the Neosho River has a couple of flood warnings in a couple different counties. Those remain in effect until Wednesday morning. So we're going to have flood concerns for the next couple of days. But outside of that, we're going to remain pretty dry. The storms that we had passing through our area this last weekend, now moving in Arkansas, Tennessee, but looks like we're out of severe weather season, and that's a good thing. We did get a lot of rainfall, so we're completely out of a drought, but since we're out of severe weather season, we're moving into those summer seasons. Temperatures getting up to the 90s, even hitting 100, and not a lot of rainfall. We're going to keep an eye on this, and we aren't too far out of the drought, so it may be a concern as we move into the summer months, those drought concerns. Now, tonight, sunny, clear all night long. Temperatures dropping down to the low 60s. A little cooler, but we do start to warm up as this ridge settles over our area. So Monday morning, still going to stay pretty dry, clear for the next several days. May have a chance of rain on Tuesday, slight 10-15% chance of a little rain shower passing through the area. But outside of that, we're going to stay dry as this ridge continues over the area all week long, and temperatures do start to warm up because of it. Tomorrow, not so much. We're only getting up to the upper 70s, maybe hitting 80 as well, because we are still dealing with that cold front that passed on Saturday night. It's going to be a very nice day, sunny, light winds out of the northeast, but after that, we're going to stay in the 80s Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then by the weekend hitting into the 90s. Our lows only getting down to low to mid 70s for the remainder of the week, but those 90-degree temperatures are going to remain pretty consistent now that we're in the summer season.
Phew.
Yeah, you're going to have some struggles in the heat, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lindsay. Coming up in sports, Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice speaks to the media for the first time since his off-field legal issues. Plus, the St. Louis Cardinals wrap up their weekend series. Brock Baldridge has the highlights and more coming up.
The Joplin Outlaws' home winning streak came to an end last night after losing a hard-fought battle at Piney Woods. However, Joplin can still win the series on Sunday night with the victory. Outlaws were once down 5-0 in this game, but Joplin comes all the way back in the later innings to win this one by a score of 8-6. Outlaws win the series. They are now 6-1 when playing on their home field this season. Outlaws open up the long road trip on Tuesday night at Texarkana. Well, the St. Louis Cardinals come into Sunday 7.5 games behind first place, but they are in a logjam for second place in the NL Central standings. Cardinals versus Rockies at Busch Stadium. We start in the third inning. Cardinals lead 1-0. Alec Burleson hits this one deep, and it's a wall scraper, but still counts the same for a solo home run. He touches them all. St. Louis leads 2-0. We head to the bottom of the fourth now. Same score. Mason Wynn loops this one to the outfield and left field there. 2-run double, and the Cardinals add on to their lead. St. Louis goes up 4-0. So we head to the fifth inning now. Same score. On the mound for the Redbirds is Andre Paliente. who was dealing for the Cardinals. First, Paliente gets the strikeout with a swing and a miss there. Then 2 batters later, Drake Jones goes down on strikes. Paliente finished with 6 strikeouts, only allowing 3 hits. Cardinals split the series. They win 5-1. Royals at home against the Mariners, and it's deja vu. J.P. Crawford led off Saturday's game with a home run, and he leads off Sunday with another solo bomb. Seattle leads 1-0 early on, so we head to the 7th inning now. Game tied at 1. Tyler Locklear belts one to the wall, and it goes into the gap. Isbell can't quite make the play. Will Klein races around the bases, and Seattle scores the go-ahead run. It's an RBI double for Locklear, and it just so happens to be his first major league hit, and that gives the Mariners a 2-1 lead. Royals down 3-1, the bottom of the 9th now. MJ Melendez swings and admires that one all the way to the outfield seats. It's a 2-run home run. That ties the game at 3. We head to extra innings now. Julio Rodriguez comes up with 2 on, 2 out. He gives Seattle the lead right here with an RBI single. Mariners go up 4-3 after a clutch piece of hitting by J-Rods. The Royals refuse to quit this one. We go to the bottom of the 10th now. Mariners lead 6-3. Hunter Renfroe cuts the deficit into 1-run game after the long 2-run homer, so the Royals still need to tie this game up. Vinny Pasquantino comes up and grounds out to second base. Wild game comes to an end. Seattle avoids the sweep. Mariners win it 6-5. Well, Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice has had quite the turbulent offseason. On Saturday, Rice made his first public remarks since his off-the-field issues in Dallas. Rice spoke to the media while participating at a youth football camp in Kansas City with his fellow teammates such as Marquise Brown, Xavier Worthy, McCole Hardman, and Sky Moore.
I've learned so much from that. All I could do was, mature and continue to grow from that. And this is, a step in, a better direction for me.
What can you do from this point forward?
Just to continue to be involved and be blessed and for the opportunity that we have. Accidents and stuff like that happen, but, all you can do is kind of move forward and, walk around being the same person and try to be positive so that everybody can feel your love and your great energy.
Well, a drink and a sport, both considered on edge. They come to Boston for sporting nerves that go into a free fall. Energy drink Red Bull brought its Cliff Diving World Series into the waters of Boston's harbor. The event marked the 100th stop in Red Bull cliff diving history. Well, that's your look for sports. We're back with more news after this.
A woman is recovering after she was kidnapped early Friday morning. Police say the woman jumped out of a moving car to escape. Victor Park has the details.
Home surveillance video in southeast Portland captures a woman hiding in a driveway early Friday morning. But to understand why, we need to take you near southeast 148th and Division in the Centennial neighborhood. This is where Portland police say the 47-year-old woman was at when a stranger pulled up next to her, offers her a ride home. She gets in the car, and then they take off westbound on Division. And then the two arrive at this intersection of 112th and Division when police say the victim tried to escape, but the suspect kept her from leaving when he accelerated northbound. A short time later here at 112 and Lincoln, the victim finally jumped out of the moving car. She ran up to this house begging for help. Now the woman can be heard talking to police.
He's trying to abduct me. I'm having on someone's door.
And watch as he drives away right behind her. But notice her bloody leg. Yeah, those are injuries from when she jumped out.
No, I'm not in that house. I ran to a stranger's house. He came back.
This is part of a bigger problem. Portland police data shows that in the first 4 months of 2024, 22 kidnappings were reported. That is a slight downward trend compared to the same period last year, but still no long-term decline when you look back as far as 2018. In this latest incident, police say officers were successful in finding and arresting the suspect.
A large chunk of Twisting Mountain Pass Road has collapsed, leaving a gap in the highway that serves as a major link between small Idaho towns and the tourist destination of Jackson, Wyoming. Aerial video from the Wyoming Transportation Department shows the severity of the damage. The highway was closed at the time of the collapse because of a mudslide that happened a couple of miles away and ongoing concerns over a crack and drop in the road. It is unclear how long it will take to rebuild the road. Up next, a volcano in Iceland is causing a few problems. We'll have the details. A volcano in Iceland continues to blaze a trail in the study of volcanology, while also dropping blazing hot lava on roads and key locations. This slow-churning volcano near the far western peninsular town of Grindavik is now engulfing a road leading into town and making access to the Blue Lagoon geothermal spa difficult as of yesterday. An entire Icelandic volcano system has violently rumbled back to life after 800 years of silence. I know you're into meteorology, you're a meteorologist, but I'm fascinated with geology. How do you feel about it?
Well, it kind of goes hand in hand. We had a lot of geology classes and, just studying earth science in general. So I am also a fan of geology.
I don't know if I could get that close to the lava, though.
No, probably not.
I-
You're not an adrenaline junkie,
No.
I would assume.
No.
I think I would have to be because I chase tornadoes, but no, I don't know if I would get that close either.
Well, that's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll leave you with another look at that volcano in Iceland. From all of us here at KOAM, have a great night.